This conference will now be recorded.
All right, now we're called to order. Agenda, does it look okay? Any additions? If not, I'll have a motion to approve.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we'll move to the minutes from October 4th. Any corrections needed? Question? If not, motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Accounts payable.
You'll see that there's a large amount paid to Green Edge for the lawn care in the park. It's because I held on to the invoices for a while, they had been charging us sales tax. I was trying to get an update one that didn't include sales tax and credited us for, some of them had it from the summer, some of them didn't. I tried to contact them twice, never heard anything back from them. They sent me a statement, with red highlights and stuff, so I just subtracted it myself and sent them a check. That's maybe 3 months worth. 2 for sure.
And these refunds for the shelters, are those the ones that we voted on?
Yep. Yeah, the one is AmeriCorps, that was for the shelter, but Bo Kennedy, that was for the softball field.
Oh,
I did cash those checks. He's the only one that then contacted me saying, oh no, I have it, I'll bring it in. And the issue, but otherwise the other ones I haven't heard.
I know somebody still has them.
I don't think I got $100 from you.
You did.
I would have capped it if I did.
So does anyone else have any other questions?
No, that's one of the questions. We don't care. Yeah, obviously 2 months. Definitely.
And then this, we have to have a motion to approve this, right?
Yep.
Yep, okay, motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the accounts payable.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Unfinished business, pool discussion.
I think Mike had made a request to bump Mr. Harbaugh first.
Sure. All right, awesome. Gary?
So the reason why I am here at this meeting, as you know, the community garden is on to another year, I would say less successful this year just because of the drought, which is why I'm here. This year I was using water supply from a neighboring property, looking at the page, this one parcel being that. I'm currently drawing water from the house west, but I'm looking to request from the city of Zendora to have the water line picked up, so we can have our own water at the garden. The reason why I want to do this is through Lee County's grant. Last year, we used it for $600 for plants, but this year they said we can't use it for plants, we use it for something else. So, infrastructure, we put in a solar system, so it can all be watered underneath the restructure, so we're not wasting water, and then we can time it and make it more self-sufficient. So before I submit that grant for approval, I wanted to come to the city and see if you guys are okay with getting that installed. I know Mike reached out to Schumacher, got an estimate here of $2,000. I haven't even started looking into the irrigation system, so I wanted to talk to you guys first, what we thought. And then figuring out from there how can we pay for it. I'm pretty sure that Goodwill said it's going to be $5 million, but that's what they're nonprofit. So, of course, I would figure out how to get that done with whichever nonprofit we town or external to make that happen. So whether that includes Schumacher or we get a couple Schumacher to see if they'll cut a deal on it just to make it a little easier, obviously. But anyway, so that's why I'm here. Yeah. Any questions?
Now, might I suggest you talk to the Lions? They're a nonprofit that makes funnel money for other people.
Okay,
So that's
cool.
funnel money there.
Awesome.
I shouldn't say funnel money, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It's not, it's a buzzword. We've routed money for people before, so. So the question, do you have a specific question?
Where'd they say they're getting?
How do you guys feel about that? I mean, I know, it has to be, before I start applying for the grant through Woodwell, I wanted to make sure we could get water out there. I mean, it looks like Mike's kind of already gone to the work of figuring out how much it would cost to make it happen. I just want to make sure it's okay with the before I start moving on to doing all the work. Maybe do it, Mike.
Mike?
So I gotta apologize. The sound is
Yep.
just terrible. I can't hear anything. Is everybody's mics on?
Yep, I can't hear a thing either.
Can you hear me now, Mike?
Same here.
Can you hear me now or no?
It's just like,
Can you hear any of us?
The main speaker,
we can hear voices.
I wonder. Hang on, I wonder.
we're just getting a lot of reverb through it, and the lady who opened the meeting, I could hear her, but gentleman in the red hat, when he was speaking, I could, all I heard was reverb.
Okay, can you guys hear me at all now or no?
Yeah,
There
that's
you
a lot.
So basically, I'll just kind of restate it, Cliff Notes. So for the community garden, I'm seeking approval to get water access put in at the community garden site. And I'm just basically getting the approval or looking for the approval from the city of Zumbrota before I move forward with applying for a grant to pay for a soaker hose system for the garden, just to save water and to make it more automated for next year in case we experience more drought issues in the future. I know Mike had gone to the work of getting an estimate from Schumacher to figure out how much it would cost to get that water line put in. This is kind of preliminary steps, but I wanted to basically get the approval of the city before I move forward with, looking into the soaker hose system and getting the grant written and, that kind of stuff. I was just, Mike, do you have any comments?
No, it just that it appears that the water service is there. There was kind of two lots there. I had a GIS picture of it, and they found the curb stop there, so it shows that there's a water service there that they could hook onto.
Okay. And do you know, Mike, if it would be like I'm just thinking like winter time to winterize it, would it be a box underneath the frost line that I could turn the water off at the end of the year and then disconnect?
So I guess what I was anticipating, and I think what Scott had wrote, the quote on was just a yard hydrant. Does that make sense?
Is that just like a pipe sticking out of the ground, or?
Yeah, it'd be, I don't know if you're used to East Park, but there's a yard hydrant comes up, and then that it's got weep holes, so when you shut it off, it drains away, kind of like a regular hydrant.
Okay. Yeah, that would work. I think it would be nice to have something that we could run an underground line even underneath the sidewalk, so I don't have to have a hose running over the sidewalk.
So what I think what he was showing is 20 feet of poly line, which would come from the shut off in the boulevard over 20 feet. That would get you across the sidewalk and then come up with this yard hydrant.
Yeah, that works perfect. Yeah.
And that would still have to be metered, Gary. We'd have a meter for it.
Yeah, that's fine. I was paying for Dale's water anyway, so it's okay. And it should probably be cheaper because I won't be using as much. My only other question, I mean, if the grant, if I talk to the Megan from the grant office and if she says, okay, I'm going to talk to Schumacher directly as well and see if they'll donate any of this labor to make it happen, but would the city be interested or willing to pay for any of this, or? I can work on, I know you guys got a lot of projects going on too. I totally get it. I can seek that money elsewhere too, but I'm just curious.
Is this, asking, the house next door to the gardens down there in the corner? Is there a way that they would maybe be, that we could hook up a meter to that, to meter the water? So we don't have to spend all that money? If we could, or would that be
Their house, you're saying?
the house that where the hair care place is? They could, we can, you know,
Is that a possibility? We just tee off their line and put a separate meter? Is that what you're saying, Fred?
that's what I'm asking, you know, if that's even a possibility.
Is that a question to Mike?
Yep.
I'd have to, yeah, I guess we've never run a meter off. I'd have to see if there's a hose bib off the back of the house first, I guess, you know. And if not, maybe that's still a cheaper option to put, you know, to even pay for a hose bib coming out of that house. But we'd have to get permission or see if there's any consideration first, I guess.
Right, right.
I think that's Ricky Sibley, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We could treat that, I think, as far as my stuff goes, we could treat that just like a second watering meter.
Hang on, she's resetting her speaker.
Okay, I'm thinking, like, from my end, could we just treat it like a house that has a second water meter on it?
Correct.
Just a thought there that would save us, you know, well, because of $2,000, and then we gotta get the cement done and stuff, and yeah, buy a lot of water. Just a thought.
I can check with her, Fred.
Or would it be more convenient to have your own hydrant there? I'm not sure what.
I mean, it doesn't really matter to me one way or another. It's, you know, I haven't even looked into the infrastructure of the Socro systems and how I'd have it set. I mean, I have an idea of how I want to do it, but it would all just run off one big manifold.
Yep.
And coming in.
It would probably come down to making sure the hose was rolled up every time for mowing purposes for them, you know. You know, that's the only thing I can see.
Sure. Yeah, to me, it would be something I'd want to be more permanent because then I could put timers on it and, you know what I mean? It could just be watered 3 times a week, boom, done.
Yep, understandable.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said,
Could you bury the line coming across the Sibley property? Or is that not really a thing that's done? You know, there's a nipple there and then we run a line and then we bury it underneath the ground.
So like just a garden hose that you would just kind of cut under the sod, or?
Yeah, it would have to be a little bit farther down because I mean, just again, you'd have to be able to drain it. Otherwise it would freeze and then explode. I don't know. Maybe the individual line would be smarter then. I don't know.
Yeah, or you could pressurize your whole system to bleed it all out.
Yeah.
With air pressure.
Just air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they do with your residential sprinkler systems and stuff like that. But regardless,
Right.
you know, whichever way you come from, but
Okay.
to clear out anything underground
Sure.
or in your garden beds or whatever,
Yeah.
make sure all your lines are clear.
Yeah. So I guess then the question is, Mike, I mean, do you think it's worth it to talk to Ricky about it, or do you think we should move with the individual line?
I'll leave that up to the park board, how they would like to handle that.
so if there was a permanent hydrant there, the water, we would just provide.
No, I can get a meter on a yard hydrant.
Either option, it would be metered.
Either option, it would be metered, correct.
Yep. I'm just trying to find some way. I mean, we've got so many projects going here. I just don't know if there's going to be any help from us at this point. That's just kind of my feeling on it. Until we know exactly where we are in the projects we got going.
Yeah. I'm not looking for you guys to head the project. I can make it all happen. It's just, figuring out cost. So, and they
Right.
said they could do, I think they set up to 5,000 or, I don't know. You ask for money and then they give you less than what you ask for. So, I mean, it'd be reaching out to Schumachers as well to see if they would want to donate a little bit of their time or labor or whatever. I mean, I don't know.
Yep.
So the bid was 2,000. You think you probably can get a grant, maybe 4,000, ask for 5, maybe 4?
Yeah, I would hope
So,
And
yeah.
then the other costs then would be the soaker hose.
Yeah.
And that would be all that, yeah. Yeah.
And guess on what that would cost?
I don't know. I reached out to Kurt Gunrud, but I didn't hear anything back from him yet on figuring out a cost for that. Yeah.
So you're kind of just looking for, right now, just kind of, if, not cost about it, but permission to put one in over there, huh?
Exactly, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm looking for a go ahead on the project and then I can work on getting financing and writing the grant and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I guess we're just trying to figure out now which is the best route, going with the Schumacher and excavating and putting our own yard tap in versus messing around with, I mean, if it's going to be a permanent thing, I'd like to run it for at least 5 years. When I move out to the country, I'd like to transfer it to somebody else that lives in the city. But I mean, I don't foresee myself moving out to the country for at least 5 years. So my plan is to take care of the garden for the next 5 years. So, and I move to the school is what I'd like to do. So I think permanently would be better, but rather than messing around with Ricky, it is cheaper. I like your idea, Fred, just to save money. But I mean, I can work on getting the finances involved.
When is your grant due?
It's spring, so it'll be, I think March or May or something like that. Yeah, but I can submit it like now. So as soon as I get it, then I can get approved. Then we can get everything rolling. Because I'd like to, if I'm going to do it, I'd like to get it done.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was wondering, if you're
Yeah.
relying on this grant and, you're gonna want to start it around.
So do you get a lot of help on that? So you're saying like in 5 years, you don't want to be doing it no more. Is there going to be enough interest to keep that going then in 5 years?
I think so. I mean, well, we're going to find out here in the next year, I'd say. Just with food supply and the way just coming from a healthcare aspect, just all the latest research on microbiome and how that influences human health, it's so much revolves around soil health. And so providing an avenue to teach children at a young age the importance of that and getting engaged with soil systems. I know we're not going to have 100% involvement with the school classes, but even 20 or 15%, starting to do continuing education and summer education programs. I mean, there's a lot of people that come and harvest. It's the initial work, and that's why I'm trying to install all these things. So there's very little initial work.
Oh, yep.
I think the cleaner system is having your own setup rather than trying to slave off of somebody's house, because all it would take is for the people on the corner to sell their house and say, hey, I don't want any part of this, and then we're cooked, and then that would be money spent going down that road, and we'd have to start all over again.
Well, and I kind of think of the liability aspect of it too, like if something happens with the line, I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 I can't make a motion because I need to move the meeting.
So I would like to propose to make a motion that we allow Gary to proceed with the individual water system, allowing him to at least pursue the grant and the money and things like that. And then if need be, he can come back at a later time and request some funds or something from us. But absolutely looking for a motion right now. I'd like to make a motion to allow him to proceed and say, yes, an individual system right there based off of, like the Schumacher proposal and Mike's recommendation right there with an individual yard pump.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for Gary to go ahead. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So if Mary can't vote, I can, right?
What?
I can vote, right?
Yeah, you can vote. I can't, but you can.
Yeah, that's what I said. You can't, but I can. I think. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you. Okay, are we good to go back
To unfinished then the pool discussion? Who's got that?
It's,
So I think it was at the last meeting, you guys requested that we bring Josh back in to discuss. Oh, help me, Fred. You wanted to discuss the fundraising efforts kind of with Josh and where we were at, right?
Well, yeah, that and just kind of where do we go from here now then that we kind of want to get this rolling again here?
We didn't lose Josh, did we?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. So Josh is here and you guys can ask him questions however you want to do that.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Josh.
Hi.
Well, I guess I would start out with, am I able to share my screen?
no, but I'll get you.
Because looking through my files after the presentation by the pool committee, we came upon version number 20, which was, can you guys see my screen here?
No.
There you go.
Version number 20. It was a new bathhouse at 2,400 square feet with a pool at 6,302 square feet and a splash pad just shy under 1,000 square feet and had a patron capacity of 441. After that presentation, we gave a presentation to the park board that got moved to the city council, but there was never really a recommendation from the city council stating that they were going to give the go-ahead for the pool committee to disband and form a capital campaign committee and begin raising money for this project. So I had a few questions, are we still on this version? And then what is the funding mechanism? And then who are the people that are going to be raising money for this project? Are the three kind of big questions that I have. Because what we've seen in the past is if you don't have a clear goal in mind and a clear funding mechanism put together, and you're just going out raising money for a hypothetical pool, it makes it a tough go for anyone doing that. And it's always good to have the city kind of give their rubber stamp on a project before we go to public.
Is this the Chatfield layout?
Yes.
And it's 441 people, you said?
Yep.
Do you remember what our pool is?
I could find out real quick, but I don't believe it's that much. If you give me a sec. What was that?
Maybe half that?
I wanted to
I would-
say 280.
That
That's
sounds about right. But let me pull something up here real quick.
So what was the cost of this version 20?
So for bidding in the fall of 2021, it was at 5.4. So if you're looking at 2022, with the cost of inflation and supply chain issues, just a real rough number over, you know, the Zoom call here, I would probably say you're at the, you know, over 6, maybe even like 6,250,000 at this point. Just because the recent projects that we've had bid out, it's just insane on some of the cost of the different components. So Fred, if you give me 1 second here, I can answer your question as far as your current capacity. 2680. I'm almost there. Let's see. 290 is what we
Okay.
had calculated from the technical evaluation. So I guess from our standpoint, you know, we would like the city to make a recommendation or a motion to allow, you know, a capital campaign committee to be formed on what version and a suggested funding mechanism. Is Brian there tonight?
I'm here. Yep.
And I know, you know, the bonding capacity, when we talked, it didn't sound like there was going to be a significant contribution from the city. Is that still the case?
That would be the wish. You know, what's significant? You know, that's the big question. I know there's other communities that, you know, bonded for the whole thing. You know, I think Chatfield, they ended up running their referendum and it was voted in, and I believe they bonded for the whole thing. So I'll see Joel Young Wednesday, when we can talk more about that with him to see how he swung that. But you know, ultimately, we need to educate the public on what it's going to cost to do something like this. And if they want to pay the whole thing, great. You know, being one of the citizens, I would think that that's a tough sell for a pool this size, or an amount of this size. So, you know, I've maintained the whole time, you know, raise as much money as possible, get going as soon as possible, and raise a lot of money. Because the more we raise, the better chance we have of selling this to the public. But I know you want a solid dollar amount, and you know, I haven't given you one, and I certainly can. You know, I need to look at a full capital plan. You know, I'm contemplating hiring Ellers or David Drown or someone to do that. You know, we can figure this in there because we've got road needs as well, and that will look at our bonding capacity and how to best do that. So I can get you a better number at some point in the near future, but right now, raise as much money as possible. Let's get going on it, on the fundraising.
So when we presented this, we had a couple different breakdowns as far as some bid alternatives that, you know, might ease the cost, and would be something that if enough money is raised, I guess the best thing would be, you know, what dollar amount would you want a capital campaign to go out and shoot for starting out with? asking a capital campaign committee and the size of your community to raise the entire amount would be very difficult for whoever joined that committee. I mean, we've had projects that have been donated by, you know, all capital campaign, but those are very few. Where we see the most success is where you have, you know, funding coming from several different avenues. And obviously one being a capital campaign, but it would be who would serve on that committee as well. And what version are we going after if it's this version here?
Yeah, and I
And
think,
Brian,
go ahead, Fred.
Brian, you were kind of, you know, if this thing's going from 5.4 to 6 point something in 1 year and you're trying to get 2 to 3 years out of this, we're going to be closer to $7 million by the time we want to do that. I don't know. I think we got to get, this is my personal opinion. I think we got to get some kind of commitment to what the city's going to put in this, because I mean, I can see Josh, and that's a big fundraiser, but I don't want to go through all this. And what if we only raise $2 million? Then what do we do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll work harder on getting a solid number. Again, it's going to take a little bit of time because I have to include it with the rest of the capital planning as well. You know, Mayor, the other thing that goes into this right now, bonding, you know, money's cheap right now. But, you know, so, yeah, we just have to get a handle on all of our needs and the bonding capacity and what makes sense for the community. You know, and then how do we talk to the public about that? I can get a dollar amount, you know, that makes sense for us. That can be part of my discussions with whoever does our capital study for us. But it'll take a little bit of time to do that.
Yeah, and I just think where the pool is on the priority list too, because you know I don't want to get to 3 years and all of a sudden it's like, okay, then we're gonna have to make decisions of shutting down or.
Right.
And Josh, is there any way that we would save money? And you know, like I've seen other cities, you know, you've got a price in there for a bathhouse. Can the guys separate that out and do that locally and save some money?
Definitely. It really depends on the trade skill that you have in your area. Because a lot of times these buildings are a CMU type of construction. We have done like a stick-built style bathhouse. The projected lifespan of that isn't as good as a CMU. You know, with a chlorinated environment, they tend to degrade a little bit faster. But we have had communities where they have separated this portion out. One that comes to mind, they actually bid it with the project, but they worked with their local contractors. And the contractors put in some in-kind donations and material donations, and they were close to $300,000 cheaper than the next bidder. So it's definitely, you know, a good idea, especially if you have the, you know, talent in your area to do that.
Yep. And another question for you, Josh, is like all the cement around the deck, is that something special or is that something that can also be done locally?
That gets a little bit tougher just because of how our pool wall is designed. Typically that's part of, we break our contracts into our pool projects into 3 different contracts. You've got one for the pool itself, one for the pool mechanical, and then one for the general construction. So typically, the contractor will be responsible for the concrete around the pool just because of the way it's designed and how it sits on the pool wall. But your flat work outside, or say around the splash pad,
Yep.
that might be something that we've worked out in the past, have a local contractor do that.
Is if there's some way we can say, even if it's 2 years down the road, getting over that 5.5 million is just gonna, if we can save money or sharpen pencils somehow to keep this thing around $5.5 million when it comes time to do it.
Yep. And I do believe, let me look here. I mean, the parking lot is also included in that opinion as well.
Oh,
So, all the flat work here, I mean, that would definitely fall into something where you could have a local contractor do that, or even have it be a separate project.
well, that's the existing parking lot, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger, Fred.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be another, area to look at.
Yeah, I think it was around 180 there you just pointed at.
Okay.
I agree with Fred, trying to get some local resources to donate some time or talent to that is going to go a long way towards whatever committee we have doing the fundraising. Just doing a recent event myself, trying to do small construction at a softball field. There's a lot more people who are eager to lend their time and talent than there are to open up their wallets. So you're going to have a lot of that, and there are, to Burbach's request, there are a lot of talented resources in the area, especially when it comes to stuff like that. And I also like his opinion of some of the easier low-hanging fruit, if you will, like parking lot or sidewalks, things like that, that don't link intricately to the sidewall of the pool or anything like that. So if we could, to Fred's point, sharpen our pencil and try and keep this underneath like a $6 million thing, it's definitely going to help community-wise raising those funds.
Yep. And that's just, I took that number that you had, that 5.4, and just the last year, like inflation is trending at about 16%. And I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that, with COVID and supply chain issues. I've never seen it jump this high in a year. So hopefully by the time we go out to bid, this project would, or the materials would stabilize. But anytime that you extend a project out, a couple years, cost isn't going to go down. So, but to answer Fred's original question, as far as what Burbach Aquatics would need, we would still be tied to our original proposal and those original quotations that were in there, and all we would need would be for the city to initiate our phase 1 step 5 service, our capital campaign support, and then we would ask the community members to join a pool committee, and it would be really beneficial to have at least a few members from that original pool committee on that, to kind of lay some history of how we got to version number 20, why these features were selected. And once you get a capital campaign committee formed, we would start going to the community and the public about raising money for this version and the costs associated with it, so.
I really like that direction. I think, Fred, that's what we talked about last month when we had our meeting, that we kind of were locked into version 20, and the majority of the members that were part of that committee have disbanded, or we've kind of lost momentum, if you will, on that. But the members there who are still interested might be some key components to what Burbach is talking about there, to going out and explain to the community why we landed on the version we did. But we'd still need some solid numbers from the city to find out, what we're pursuing and what our goal is. And to everyone's point, we literally have 2 years here before our existing pool that is repaired is going to be non-functional. And to Burbach's very astute point is we're losing ground quickly here if things continue to climb as fast as they are. So the longer we wait, the more this is going to hurt in the future. So if we can start some fundraising now and do that over the course of 24 months with an earmark of, maybe the end of 23 or 24 or beginning of 24, going into construction and getting ready for this, I think those would be some vital things to have.
Yep.
So, and just for the park board's knowledge here, phase 1, step 5 includes guidelines for capital campaign cabinet to carry forward, labor to prepare some foam boards and conceptual site plan, that type of stuff. Meeting with us to talk about goals, timelines, etc. Kickoff meeting. And also helping to select campaign cabinet members. Then there'd be a kickoff meeting. Again, this is all potential. This is just what's involved in that phase 1 or phase 1, step 5. Kickoff meeting, and then meet with the capital campaign. That cost is about $5,800 for this part of it, which is really good from what I found for a fundraising campaign. So.
I think to be fair to the capital campaign, when we get this group of people together, we need to be able to tell them exactly how much money the city is going to kick in and how much we expect them to raise. And that's got to come from City Hall. And yeah, I'd like to see a third, 2/3 from the city and 2/3 from capital. That would be 2 no from the city and 4 from capital. Is that doable in past history for a capital campaign? In your experience?
It's a pretty big ask. I'm not gonna lie. But I mean, it's been done in the past. It really just depends on how the campaign goes. One of the biggest goals for a campaign of that size would be to get 3 or 4 lead donors that would give substantially to the project. Because the more, it's simple math, the more larger donors that you have, you make up that ground a lot quicker than your $100,000 donors. So
not that I'm gonna hold you to or anything, but you're here for our advice, Josh. Say it's a $6 million project. What is your ratio on what we should seek from the city and fundraising?
I'm not a financial advisor, and I would probably refer to Ellers, like Brian was saying, because it really comes on what your bonding capacity is too, and how much you have to put for this project. One of the guidelines that we always say at Burbach Aquatics is that you don't go over 80% of your bonding capacity with a project like this, because the last thing we want to do is build a pool in your community and then, say the water tower breaks down or you have a major water line break and your, bonding capacity is capped. I think a good goal for your community would either be a 50-50 split or to flip it the other way, the 2/3 from the city or a third from the capital campaign. Because a $2 million capital campaign is going to be, a fairly lofty goal for, any community. So.
Josh, in doing pools like this, are there other sources of revenue, grants, things like that?
Yeah, there are different grants available. Game Fish and Parks, I just had a community get $400,000 from that. It could be an idea with Bathhouse. Do you guys have a community safe room in Zumbrota for tornadoes?
Not a community safe room. We have a couple at our trailer parks, of course, but no, not a community one.
That might be an option to consider as well. Let me share my screen again. With the Bathhouse.
People that are campers.
In Canton, South Dakota, and especially where your guys' pool is located, there's quite a, large residential presence in the area where Canton, South Dakota, they've got probably a similar size pool, maybe a little bit smaller, but they were able to secure $810,000 for their upcoming pool project through a federal grant. So that's something to consider as well.
Fred, we could potentially tie that into the permanent campsite restructuring there that's just to the southwest of that pool right there, right where the cursor is. I mean, we got a bunch of campsites right there just to the left of where the pool is now. That would be an easy tie-in to say that is a storm shelter for everyone in the campground.
Yes.
So to answer your question, Brian, yes, there are different funding mechanisms available. But with this infrastructure package, there might be money that you can use from that too. I know I'm working in Pierce, South Dakota right now. They asked us when this project goes out to bid to separate all the utility line items out of the project, and they're going to fund those items through this COVID relief money that the city received, which for that project, it's probably about 3 times the size of this one, and it equaled close to, I think, $400,000.
Are those the kind of things that you would advise us on as part of this capital campaign as well? Ideas like that, things to look into?
That's just what we do because we're your pool consultant. We're going to help you through the process the entire way. So
good. Yeah, because I could see we want to try and tap into whatever we can. We do have a little bit of money coming for this, the rescue plan dollars. But yeah, this whole other infrastructure, that's a whole nother ball of dollars that might be available. So
I think we're willing to put anything out there, anything you can give us, any kind of grant, any kind of funds that are available. I don't think we got a problem reaching out and shooting for the stars here. I mean, if we're going to try to raise $4 million, I think we can put out anything we can to get any kind of monies coming in.
Yep. I will kind of backtrack on that FEMA storm shelter, just because obviously that structure, when you have to make it a tornado shelter, so your line items from 18 to probably 23. Those might go up because it's basically a concrete box that you're building. So your roof structure is a lot different. There's extra reinforcing that has to go into something like that. But when it's all said and done, it's actually not a bad way to go because of the size of the grant that you can get from the feds on that. So
Brian, do you think some of those infrastructure numbers are things that we should probably break out and have for Thursday night's meeting when we look at the rescue plan dollars?
Yeah, I think a preliminary discussion on that. I don't know if we'll have them all broken out by then. But I think that is something we should discuss, that there might be an opportunity to use some of those dollars towards this. Of course, it's going to take almost all of our dollars, if we were to use it that way. But I'm hoping, I think there's a whole nother infrastructure package out there that they're arguing about out in Washington, DC right now. So there may be more dollars coming from that, and we can use our contacts with our local representatives. Yes, yep, senators and our local Congress people. So kind of go that route, let them know what we're looking at, bring them up to speed, and they seem to be able to find some dollars for things. So especially right now, there's plenty of money out there. But yeah, no, I agree completely. Let's make sure we discuss that as part of our rescue plan committee.
So what do you need from us then? No? A motion of any kind or what?
Well, Josh, is it typically a resolution? Is that how we've been doing? Probably a resolution to authorize phase 1, step 5 of the contract with Burbach?
yeah, well, typically it's just an initiation letter. It would be more a resolution of, from the city asking to go ahead for a fundraising campaign or a capital campaign for version 20 at, and then those breakdowns as far as, the city's portion or at least a goal and like a sunset for the capital campaign, giving community members permission to go out and raise that money or try to raise that money. So.
All right. Do you have sample
Because that-
resolutions that have been done in the
Oh,
past?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you have sample resolutions or something you could send to me that has been done in the past by another community to authorize this part of the mechanism?
Yep, I can send something to you.
I appreciate that.
Any other questions?
And Fred, I think to answer your question, the direction from the pool board would be to direct me to bring it back to the council or direct city staff to bring it back to the council to get the capital campaign started. And that I would think would be a motion and a second from the park board.
Motion to take it back to city council?
You take it back to city council to proceed with that version.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Hey, Josh,
Yes.
can you send, I don't know, maybe some, or is it in the packet, what you just showed us, the picture of the pool and the pricing? Is that in
Yeah,
our
I can
packet?
forward that onto the group.
From before, so.
Yeah, in a past email, Fred, I can get you a copy.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Thank you, everyone.
What is this called? Phase 1,
Phase 1, step 5.
Step.
Yep, phase 1, step 5.
step 5.
fundraising.
How many stages are in?
Let's see. Oh, we get into phase 2 after phase 1. Oh, and then phase 3.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were in
Well, I
phase
was
3.
gonna say, it looks like a freaking book over there.
You know what? I just thought of one other thing. So I don't know if everybody was involved. Maybe you weren't even on the board
I don't
then, but
think either one of these guys were.
No, we were not.
Were you?
No.
No, Mary wasn't even.
so just for reference on when we talk about taxes and what it's going to cost people, what they're going to be voting on, at 5.75 million, we would be looking at about $25 a month per house, per $200,000 house. So if it was a $400,000 house, it'd be $50 a month that we'd be asking people to pay if we finance the whole thing.
Like the pool, this is just,
Yeah.
it's not like the rural community either.
Oh.
Right. Isn't, yeah, it's just Zumbrota residents.
Okay.
You know,
So
so
that's why it's so heavy and hard.
So why is it just the residents and not
Because it's an amenity of the city.
city?
yeah, that's why, you know, we charge more for pool passes for non-city people,
Oh, okay.
things like that. So yeah, so, you know, if it's 6 million, it's about $28, $25 to $28 per house, $200,000 house. So if we say, okay, we're gonna raise half of that and we're going 3 million, it's gonna be, you know, 14, 15 bucks per month per
So these are
$100,000 house.
owned homes. It's not people who have apartments that live in an apartment. It
Well,
doesn't
yeah,
affect.
it'll be passed along to them,
Yeah.
of course.
Through the
Yeah.
landlord, one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, businesses, I suppose.
And then that's what brought the pool committee, because their first pool was like $11 million. And that's what really dialed them back down. And then the number one thing that was thought, well, two things that were like way top was the zero entry and the splash pad.
Yep.
And everything else was, you know, the lap swimming would be great to have that again. So then they could have their water aerobics and stuff like that. And then they kind of built off of it. And then that, if you look on that list, if we can get a printed out list again, on the bottom, it did break out almost $600,000 worth of stuff that could be add-ons like what Pine Island did. So they could be part of the fundraiser. If we get to that point, they can go in. Otherwise, those could be future amenities added. So, you know, those are other things too, like that water slide and stuff, you know.
I think if we really looked at it, there's still things that
Yeah,
could
that could
be,
be trimmed. I think it could
trimmed.
definitely be trimmed down.
like I saw the zip line for 25,000. I'm like,
Yeah.
that could wait.
That, yeah.
You know, it's not like an essential to the function of the
Right.
pool.
Yeah.
Well, and plus all the other, you know, if we can get some infrastructure dollars, if we could get, you know, some local
Local help. on
flat work,
Anything we can.
paving,
and
things like
If we can
that.
turn that into a storm shelter and get federal money out of that, that would be huge.
Yeah, it might be a wash though. in that
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, but still, even at a wash, I mean, then we're protecting all them new campers that we're gonna be putting in the park.
See, flipping the whole thing, you know, flipping the bathhouse to down
To the other
to
side.
the other side by the
Yeah.
campground and having the parking down there. Do we, want, you know, bring them in through the park like we had talked?
I still love that
Take it
idea.
out of the
Yeah, I do
neighborhood.
too. Really do.
I do too, because even last summer when I drove out there, I nearly hit a kid
Yeah.
that was goofing around on one of those boards, you know, and if you have young people coming out there, I mean, I'm not a great driver, but I'm a better driver than a teenager. So
Yeah. Well, and even, I mean, you'll still kind of have that danger in the park too, but I feel like you're gonna get more people into your park if they have to directly look at it.
Yep.
Whereas when they're just coming through
Yep.
the neighborhood, you know, some people, if they're just,
those people in the neighborhood pay more to get the parking out of their neighborhood.
But yeah, I think it would get used a lot more too. I mean, leaving the pool, and
Yeah.
going right to the park,
Yep.
playing and drying off, eating
Yeah.
and.
So I'll work on getting a max number that we could propose.
Because I mean, if they're talking, they don't want to go above 80%, I mean, it's not gonna take.
I figured he would say
Yeah.
opposite when you said,
Yeah.
that. Oh, he's gonna say flip it.
well, and being how this kind of went last time we had to put together a committee,
Yeah.
I don't want to put anything out to try to get members until I have like a
Everything.
rock solid
Solid.
thing to tell people.
100% agree.
So I am
Yeah.
not gonna put, like, usually I would go and start it tomorrow. I am not going to do that at this
Yeah,
point.
they need to have firm
100%, yeah.
firm direction. And we're learning this, that especially the younger generation people, unless they know exactly what it is, they don't want any part of it because they don't want to overcommit.
Mhm.
And I get
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yep.
So,
And we have a fear of the unknown too.
Yeah.
If we have no idea what we're gonna volunteer for, we're like, well, we'll let somebody else do it.
Well, and the other thing that comes into play here is, yes, it's gonna be more expensive in 3 years, but we're gonna have bigger tax base in 3 years too.
that
You
is true.
know,
We grew
you
quite a bit.
know, probably money's gonna be more expensive then to borrow, because I don't see it going any lower than what it has been, but, and this is, you know, so the sending it back to the council is not gonna happen Thursday, or probably not for a few months, because we're gonna want that resolution to include a dollar amount, or, you know, like Josh had said, that, hey, you know, we're asking the council for us to move forward with this dollar amount based on this study and you know, and it's a little bit different with a pool because it's a voter approved levy. You know, you're voting to raise your taxes, where when we do just the normal levy, we are levying what we need to provide services, fix roads, you know, that type of thing. So that one's, you know, well, yeah, a little tougher, but.
The education before the vote, so people understand why we're asking for money.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's one of those amenities that brings people into town, you know. Right now, if someone was gonna
Move to town just for the pool, it ain't
if they're
happening.
gonna look at the school, which the school is fixing, you know, it's gonna be a great school. You know, they're gonna look at other amenities in town, you know, Pine Island's got new pool, new school, new, you know. Not that it's a competition, but, you know,
Oh, yes.
those type of things.
It is, but it
Things all come into it. No, we're collaborative now with all of our communities.
isn't.
Hey, Brian,
Yeah.
Great soccer team.
Brian,
Yep,
what did you say if was a bond at 3 million, how much would that be a month for a house?
well, I would say 14, 15 bucks a month per $200,000 house. That's
Okay.
per month, per house.
All right, can I give you guys another food for thought, being on the past pool committee and stuff? I know some aren't a fan of this, but the splash pad's a big thing. I think on the picture that he showed us, we had talked once about putting the splash pad back exactly where the small pool is now. And the way it's set up now is that splash pad is hooked up to the main pumps and everything. And I think, and I've asked this question many times, and I know there's some that aren't a real fan of this, but if we had the splash pad by itself, I mean, we'd have to have its own heater pump and stuff, so it would cost a little bit more money in a little long run, but it could be open a month earlier, a month later. Just a thought there on, I know it have its own mechanical room and all that stuff, but I think that's something I would like to see us weigh out to see if that's, you know, feasible, because you don't need lifeguards for that.
You just need somebody to build a whole.
That's stuff that can be discussed down the road. If you don't have to be, I just put it a food for thought. Just all that stuff can be changed as we go there.
Okey-dokey. All right, are we done with the pool then?
Sorry.
Well, we're just beginning.
Oh, yeah, it's a nice discussion.
Okay, priority list.
I realized the one that I sent out to you guys in the emails didn't include the approximated cost that we had gone over last month, so. Fred, you don't have the one that but I printed it for these guys, so I can send you the new one that I plugged the approximated cost into. Just the priority list.
Oh, yep.
It's pretty much a mirror of that handwritten sheet that Mike had at the last meeting.
Yep.
And I did cross off the rebuild Kids Kingdom because I thought we kind of decided we were gonna just kind of sit
Old
with
and
that for a
probably
while.
Yep.
Yeah.
Need something.
So I don't know if we have anything to add, updates, anything new, anything we want to change.
Well, I think Mike's been talking to Schumacher stuff. We're still trying to want to get the footings in for the new bathrooms up by the park there. And it was hard to get concrete guys for pouring the footings. So we're talking to some carpenters to put a wood foundation in there so we can get that foundation in there yet this fall. So the way I think Mike talked, that might get done the end of the week here yet.
Oh, wow.
I've been in contact with CETA about the outdoor recreation grant for the campground. And I think we'd lump the shower and the bathroom right into that request. So that ball is starting to roll a little bit. I don't have a proposal to bring back to you guys yet for the cost. I'm going to meet with them again and nail down what we want them to do. And then they'll give us a proposal not to exceed dollar amount for writing the grant for us. So I'll bring that back to you guys for approval at that time. But it's started.
Good things. You better raise that pool from 5 to 6.
I saw that after I.
Looked at it.
Yep. And I thought I was estimating high.
Yeah.
Because it was 4.6 or.
It was 4.2 without all those amenities
There you
that
go.
were optional.
Yep.
So we were right.
Are any of these things done here, like the cabinets and sink in the shelter? Is that done yet? Have we completed
No.
anything on this list? Or are we just starting?
Mike had just made that list for last month, so we knew where we were gonna be at. So, and I think when Schumacher comes to dig the footings, that Mike's gonna have him dig the water and sewer line over to the shelter for this year, and then the rest will probably be done next spring.
Okay.
The tree replacement line item, there's also a tree grant. But that thing closes pretty soon, so we're gonna miss that one this year, but moving forward, maybe we can apply for that tree replacement. It's basically for the problem we have, the emerald ash borer and replacing those trees. So hopefully we can snag some grant money at some point that way too.
And would we put them into putting the trees into the nursery and stuff for future, for changing them out?
A combination, you have to have a whole plan and a whole future plan. It's a lot of legwork to put it in, but I would see that, yeah, nursery plus, some cutting down immediately every other one or whatever, and then planting a new tree in that spot.
Okay.
Are we good there? Do we need any motions for anything here?
I
I don't think so.
Nope.
I think this is just an update for you guys.
And then moving to new business, public finance essential online course.
This is being brought up because the EDA is actually interested in going, or it's an online conference. It's pretty much like a municipality budget 101, just because this year is kind of the first year that all of the boards have really been like super involved in their budgets. And so it's just a course to just get familiar with why things are done, how things are done, just to give yourself a basic understanding. The more the merrier for this one, because the more users you have, the cheaper it is. I think they said it was like a 45 or an hour and a half. Looks like 2 classes, one's 35 minutes, one's 45 minutes. It's a do at your own pace. It's just online. So nothing, super intense. EDA, I can't remember if they voted on it last meeting or not, but sounds like they're gonna do it, and we could just split the cost by user with them if that's something you guys would be interested in.
It'd be good for us to do,
Mhm.
especially when we're looking at 6 million.
Oh my
For a
God.
pool.
Yeah, fine with me.
Myself as a staff member, I'm planning on attending it.
And then do you want to pay for ourselves?
It would come out of the budget.
Oh,
It would come out of the park board budget. So no, nothing out of your pocket.
Come out of the pool fund.
the pool fund.
Yeah.
On the pool.
A lot of the boards are gonna do this, so it's gonna be split from EDA to whatever boards. But it kind of started here with the
EDA and
Fred's questioning of how does the budget work and what do we have? And so
yeah,
this is a good 101.
Yeah, 'cause
on
EDA
public budgeting, 'cause
is-
it doesn't work like your budget at home.
yeah, EDA is asking the exact same questions that you guys are, so you guys are on the same page, so.
So do you need to know how many of us want to do it?
Yeah,
I'll do it. I'm in.
yep,
Man,
okay. Fred, do you want to sign up too?
Fred's gone.
I stepped away.
are you okay, Fred?
He's not vertical
Anymore?
Blood pressure pills that I do. I had to run too just. Those water pills keep you running.
That's how you get your 10,000
Steps in a
There
day.
you go.
I spent a lot of time going back and forth.
Well, I'll make the executive decision. Fred is going to sign up for it.
Let's just assume he's going to sign up.
The more users, the cheaper it is. So if we can get to 21 users, that'd be great.
Okay,
Right.
so do we have a motion to include ourselves into the money for this?
Sure, yeah, you guys can make a motion.
I'll motion to include ourselves.
I'll
for
second.
This training.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Fred will take it too.
Yes, he will.
So he better.
And then the next is the land appraisal request.
Yeah, so this is from Dylan. He recently was approached by a developer who's potentially interested in purchasing said parcel in the picture there. Do you guys all know where that is out front of Quick Trip by the
Yep.
roundabout?
The one we're talking
Yep,
about the
the one where
bench.
Fred wants to put the sign up.
Yeah, the sign, the bench, yeah.
Used to be a historical plaque there.
Still is.
There still is,
Yep.
which, I mean, and there, you know, if it would be, so I guess we've been approached in the past about this lot too. So Dylan thought, you know, do you guys want to get it appraised and see how much it's worth and see what you can get for it? And
I'd like to get 6 million for it.
Yeah.
I like where she's going with this.
Maybe we can get the 1/3, get 2 million.
Yeah, there you go.
City and raise 2 million. Got it.
What do we use it for anyway?
I mean, part of Booker's car lot is,
Flashes over on it. I know.
Don't really
it's
use
a
it.
park, but
I think
Fred would probably speak up now that he's back. He had kind of a wish to put that welcome to Zumbrota type kind of sign out there, but with the roundabout in there now, I'm questioning how much actual site time you're gonna have to anything in that park.
well,
Right
and
there.
I brought that point up to Dylan that you guys were, there's already the school sign out there. And he said potentially there, because signs are not gonna take up that much space. So he said there's potential to, get a. what do you
Easement?
call it? Yeah, for
So
some
we could,
signage.
so we could keep some signage up near the
Yep.
sidewalk.
Because it's not a huge lot, so anything that goes on here is not gonna be large, so.
space between the sidewalk and the lot line there, so.
I don't see any harm in at least pursuing getting it appraised to find out what it's worth right there, to find out, and then pursuing after that, if there's interested buyers, what they would write into the contract for the easement, nearest the roadside or within 10 feet of the sidewalk or
Yep.
something, so we could put up some signage.
Yep. And I wish I had Dylan here to actually speak on this, because his words make a lot more sense to me than my own words do. I'm sure you maybe have other stuff you can add too. Because when I talk to him, it just makes
Yeah, no,
more
I think
sense
you,
than
I
when I
think
hear
you said
myself
it,
talk.
I think you said it fine. It's a difficult spot. I don't know with the roundabout and the access to Quick Trip, and I don't know that there'd be any access allowed anywhere there.
Yeah, I think
From
he's
this side
already,
getting
I
in
think
there.
he's already reached out to MinDOT.
So,
And he's waiting to hear
Right,
back. to see if it's-
That's what they would have to do is come right off of 58 then to access that parcel or enjoyment with the quick trip entrance.
He's got,
Or Bookers.
right, he's got multiple scenarios that,
yeah, or Bookers, or if someone wanted to buy both, that would free up some.
Oh,
well, and I think he even said that the city has some kind of an easement in there, like the driveway that exits Booker's
Alley,
land
yep,
onto Jefferson is maybe an alley of some sort.
correct. Because there's kind of like that little
But it's,
flood zone
but
in
it's
between there.
currently not wide enough for two-way traffic. Because I
Yeah.
think Dylan said typically you see 24 feet and it's maybe 15.
But if somebody could get in from Quick Trip and then the out.
Right.
out that way.
Right. So there's avenues that are being explored.
Do we have to choose an appraisal form or will you do that?
I suppose if this is something you're interested in, maybe,
So leave it to Dylan. He was a realtor.
Oh, so it's up to
In
him,
his
okay.
previous life, so he knows this stuff really well.
he does.
If
Can I
were
put
you-
my two cents in on that?
yep.
Booker's at one time asked to buy that when I was in the early park board here, and we just thought that the craziness of that roundabout and stuff, that why we want to add any more entrances there. But isn't Dylan waiting to even hear from the state will even allow that?
Yes. Yep, he's
I
waiting
mean,
for that. But I think to have an appraisal on it, just in case something were to come up.
Oh, yeah, but appraisal won't take, isn't that $2,000?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
hate to do an appraisal.
100.
Yes.
What's that?
Dylan's email says it's anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 for the appraisal.
But I mean, we do an appraisal and find out what it's worth. It's not gonna do us any good if the state says nothing can go there anyway.
Good point.
Good point. Yep.
I mean, to me, because it doesn't take that long to get appraisal. I don't think they come and say, oh, yeah, we'll allow an entryway there. Then to me, it's like, okay, well, then if we decide we want to sell it, then we go for that. But I don't, to me, it just seems like should wait on that myself.
Right, I agree. I mean, no need to waste $2,000 to find out you can't sell something. And I definitely agree that once we do get an appraisal or figure that out, obviously the first request that I would go is respectfully, I'd go straight up to Booker's and say that this is what you potentially could purchase it for. This is what the appraisal value is. As a landowner, I would like that opportunity first before I get a neighbor.
Well, that's disrespectful because he
As requested in the past.
has, yep.
That just makes it per parcel worth that much more when he owns everything to Jefferson.
Table. You want a motion to table it?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to table this until Dylan comes back with the information from MinDOT.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Good choice, Fred.
Motion carried. All right. Any other things we need to talk about? If not, a motion to adjourn?
Can I just bring in one more thing?
Sure.
I got prices for the dugouts from Gherkins, and that was not the concrete, that's just the roofs. And the price per dugout was $781.39 per dugout. That's today's prices again, just like everybody talks. The lumber prices sound like they're going up again, but who knows by the time we get to it. But that just gives you an idea of what those dugouts will cost. So that's right around $3,100 and some dollars anyway for 4 dugouts.
Is that just the roofs, Mike, or is that the fencing around the walls too?
No, that's just the roofs. I didn't talk about, I think I'd have to go to Billy Cruzmart or somebody to get prices on the.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
And that's just materials?
What was that, Brian?
That was just materials, right?
Yep, that's just materials. That's, we using 4x6s and then, making rafters, 2x6s. I got the whole material list here, but, and then the steel and all the trim pieces for it.
And then do we approve it and do that work?
Oh, yeah.
So when I was doing the fundraising there, that was the biggest thing, was I had numerous contractors reaching out saying, I'll donate my time. We can whip that out in a weekend. Let's do this. Call me when you're ready. So we can get the labor.
I really think this is gonna be a project if we line up all the materials that everybody's just gonna show up and then it's gonna happen in a weekend. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be people who drink soda.
Down there where the road is.
During the construction, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be the Debbie Downer that keeps them drinking pop during.
I know what one of those guns can do to a body. So, all right, anything else? All right, motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Right.
Carried. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Mike, we can
Feel
get,
better, Fred.
Yeah.
Mike, we can still get together here one of these days. I brought the packet of information too, so.